that I think about the issues, the phenomena that I see. I think about this problem, that problem. I'm engaged with this question. Thinking is completely extraneous to the routine of our life. So I wanted to illustrate to you yesterday with a simple, immediate instance of the Fine Arts Society being introduced, that particular introduction can mean a lot to us. It can carry us on the wings of thought to higher and higher levels of intellectual satisfaction. All right? Now, this is the hallmark of the assembly in St. Stephen's College. That here in the assembly, unlike through the courses that you do prescribed by the university, you learn not what to think, but how to think. All right? And this is actually the guiding thought for the assembly as a whole. Our concern in the assembly is not what to think, but how to think. All right? I mean, just as, you can either give a family 5 fish, or you can teach a member of the family how to catch fish. Right? That's the difference. Now, let us go back. Let's go back to the question of ask. All right? You remember the text? Ask, and it will be given to you. Now, I'm going to develop some thoughts with you, very leisurely, and I want you to listen attentively and creatively. All right? Now, in the first instance, I told you that asking presupposes listening, if you remember. In order to ask relevantly, you have to listen intently. This was what I taught you in the first session. Today, I'm going to take you further afield. Today, my theme is asking is a fundamental human duty. It is an intellectual imperative. That's the theme. All right? Asking is an intellectual imperative. The world progresses because certain questions have been asked. If our humankind does not ask questions, we will remain where we are. But these questions have to be relevant questions, searching questions, profound questions. They have to be asked in a certain manner, with a certain attitude of mind, with a certain hope and expectation, with a certain discipline, the discipline of respect and reverence. Today, unfortunately, many people think that asking is an exercise in impertinence, insolence, rebellion, negative expressions of freedom. These are all mortally harmful misconceptions. These things will become clearer and clearer as we go along, and therefore, I sincerely hope that all of you will attend the assembly regularly, take down notes on what we learn, and become thinking human beings, for God's sake, and your own sake. So, the theme today is that asking relevant, searching, deep questions is an intellectual imperative. Right? Now, let me begin by making a reference. I try and keep references out of my assembly addresses. I use them very sparingly, deliberately, because sometimes people get intimidated or get confused if too many references are used in a short address. But I'm going to make a reference which I believe is very necessary, and you have to stay with me. I'm going to make a reference to a very small article written by the great German philosopher Immanuel Kant. K-A-N-T. Okay? Immanuel Kant, who is considered the greatest ethical philosopher history has ever seen. And I would, irrespective of the subjects you learn, the courses that you do in college, I will commend to all of you to read a little philosophy. I've been requesting the Department of Philosophy in the college to organize some popular lectures, introduction to philosophy, for example, because I believe that the education and growth of no human being is complete without some grounding in philosophy. Whether I'm a student of literature or of maths or physics or history, you need a philosophical foundation. Now, Kant said, the title of this article is The Meaning of Enlightenment. Can you remember this? The Meaning of Enlightenment. I think this was published very early in the 19th century, 1805 or something. Now, what is enlightenment? Kant says, enlightenment is emerging from man's self-inflicted or self-incurred, that's the correct word he uses, self-incurred immaturity. Can you remember this phrase? Self-incurred immaturity. So what is enlightenment? The individual emerging from his self-incurred immaturity. Now, what is immaturity? That's how thinking takes place. Now, the question is, what is immaturity? Immaturity, says Kant, is the reluctance to think for oneself. Immaturity, in other words, is the tendency to depend on others to do your thinking. Somebody else will do the thinking for you. Somebody else will work out the riddles of life. Somebody else will find all the solutions, and you simply lap it up, and you will never think for yourself. And then Kant asks the next question. Why do people stay immature? Rationally speaking or commonsensically speaking, we would all imagine that every human being would be eager to emerge from this immaturity and the state of intellectual dependency on others. But he says that is not the case at all. People are rather keen to continue in the state of intellectual inadequacy, intellectual dependence, intellectual slavery. Why? He says two simple reasons. Very simple reasons. There's nothing philosophical about these reasons, but they're very profound reasons. First, he says, is laziness. What is the number one enemy to your intellectual growth, according to Kant? It is your laziness. Let me ask you, do we suffer from this malady of laziness? My dear friends, as someone who has seen a bit of life, and someone who has fought these wars myself, I must tell you, the greatest battle I had to fight was the battle against my own laziness. Every human being by nature is lazy. We have to grow out of our laziness. Growing out of your laziness is actually the precondition, the starting point for your intellectual growth. And when you look around, the people who are flaunting free thinking are the laziest people. Have you noticed? But unfortunately, the people by and large do not have an intellectual equipment to understand and analyze. Therefore, all these pretensions pass. And they also have the support of the people around, the media in particular. And so some people emerge as icons of free thinking. I mean, I am appalled at the intellectual obscurantism that is being splashed in the name of free thinking. That's another subject, I'll deal with it later. So, the first reason for our insistence on remaining in our state of self-incurred immaturity is laziness. The second, he says, is cowardice. We are not bold enough. We don't have the courage to think. Thinking takes a lot of courage. I don't know if you've realized it. It's a costly vocation. It is dangerous to think. It's not a safe thing at all. A whole society will target you. Because a thinking person will be a unique person. A thinking person will not travel along the beaten track. A thinking person is what is described by Robert Frost. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood. I took the less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Do you know that you're living at a time when people are completely allergic to any difference? We are living at a time of comprehensive homogenization. Homogenization of desire, therefore everybody must have the same latest products in the market, if you can afford it. Homogenization of education, therefore everybody must get into St. Stephen's College. Homogenization of the thinking, that is to say unthinking process, therefore everybody is a free thinker, and the only thing a free thinker is not allowed to do is to think freely. You understand? So we are living in an age of comprehensive, all-round homogenization. Why? Because of fear. We do not want to look different. It is dangerous to be different. So because of this, Kant says, even when we live in an age of enlightenment, we will not be enlightened. We may be theoretically living in an age of enlightenment, but we will not be enlightened. I notice that time is up. We'll pick up from here tomorrow and take our thoughts further. Let's rise for prayer.